Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. You've done it, people. You've made it. It's Friday. It's 5pm. There should hopefully be a beer in your glass, and you are settling in for whatever Brad's got planned for us this week. Where are we headed on this amazing, supposedly half-hour journey this week?
I don't know what diversions I can tell you. What have I been doing this week? My boiler broke on Monday, so I was really stressed about that. But I had a lovely man come round called Marvin who came and fixed it.
Shout out to Marvin if you're looking for a boiler person in Margate area.
Brilliant. Marvin's the best. Great guy, super cool guy. So that was stressful. Then my sister rang me up the next day. She's away on holiday. She thought she was being broken into because she's got motion sensors in her house. So she said, she worried me. She was like, I think I'm being broken into. Are you doing anything? I was working. I was like, no, it's okay. I can go around. She's like, the sensors are going crazy in every room. Can you go around and like check if we're being broken into? She's like, don't do anything, but like call the police if there's a problem. But then when I got there, I couldn't see anything from the exterior, so I had to go inside, Johnny. And my God, it was like an episode of 24. I was like Kiefer, sneaking through rooms, ready to twat someone if they jumped out of me.
What weapon did you have for said?
I don't think I can say if I had a weapon on air, Johnny, because I don't think you're really supposed to be doing stuff like that. But let me tell you,
well, I really need to know what the weapon was. Was it an illegal weapon?
No.
Did you have a mace or something?
No, I didn't have a weapon, Johnny. I didn't have a weapon. I was just
have
ready.
A weapon.
My
just
hands are
raised.
deadly weapons. So
you've got some pretty serious rings.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. That's what I thought when I was driving over. I was like, I wish I had some more rings on, because that'll hurt if I whack.
Aren't they on most of your fingers?
I'm not a sort of pirate, Johnny. I've got 2 rings that I wear most days. Some days, if we're filming, I put more rings on to sort of up my Jack Sparrow sort of pirate aspirations, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, that was like, yeah, it got the blood pumping. Let's say that, Johnny. So,
so there was nobody.
There was nobody there. And what they'd done was they'd left their curtains open in a few of the rooms. I'm making it sound like a palace. It's just a normal sized house, but they'd left curtains open, right? And I don't know if you remember, on Tuesday it was incredibly blue skies and like piercing sunshine. And I think what had happened was that there was like a slit in the curtain open and a beam of light had been moving around the room. Let's say maybe a van or something, or a tall lorry or something might have gone past on the road, blocked that for a second, and it triggered the all the alarms and made them spooked, made me go around. I also raced around there, Johnny, in the Lupo, the little go-kart Lupo.
Always a risk with your cars.
So
one of the stories we didn't tell about Adnams was that when Brad dropped me off at the train station afterwards, having done like a 3-hour drive, your car conked out as you tried to pull away from the train station, and you told me to, but I just ran for the train.
I told you to leave because I
It used to be leave no man
didn't
behind
know.
when driving in one of
Yeah.
Brad's old cars, but now it's very
Yeah.
much leave Brad behind.
Well, we'd done a long day, hadn't we? So I didn't know what was wrong with it. But I tell you what, if we want, I don't know if I'll go into this fully, but did I tell you what happened after that? So I was parked. Well, I kind of pulled over near the train station to get you on the train back home, and I'd actually pulled over by a drop curb in front of a sort of gated development. I would say it's like a gated block of flats, and just behind a bus stop. So you went, and then I sat there trying to start the engine. I got the bonnet open. I was like, everything looks fine, oil levels fine, everything's fine, and it just refused to start. After about 5 minutes, an angry man in a van was indicating that he wanted to turn into the gated development. So he got out really angry and pushed me forward with another passerby, and they pushed me into the bus stop, Johnny. So now I'm blocking a bus stop and I'm in a bus lane, and I can't start my car. And then I finally resigned to calling AA, and I thought, as I was on hold, I thought, I'll just turn the engine one more time. Start it up. Boom. And I was away. So I still don't know what was going on with it, but I think I might have a dodgy battery. That is what I'm saying. That's what I'm sticking to. When I bought the car, Johnny, I didn't realise for several months that the battery wasn't secured inside the engine. So
You also thought it had an
just...
MOT and it didn't.
Yeah, I also thought it had a 4 years MOT. So I was driving around for several months without an MOT, and I had no idea because it wasn't on the system to remind me or anything. So I took my other car in to get it serviced. They were like, "Oh, you got any other cars?" I said, "Oh yeah, I've got this little Kangoo van," and told them the reg, and they were like, "Yeah, you're like 3 months out of MOT, mate. You need to bring that in ASAP, otherwise you're going to get nicked." So yeah, lots of dramas this week, Johnny. Lots of dramas last week. Life is drama.
At the risk of derailing this conversation further, I do want to raise a question about your sister's curtains.
Yeah, go on.
So I'm amazed that a British person, when going on holiday, would so carelessly leave a set of curtains open, because British holiday protocol demands that you close your curtains because that deters robbers, doesn't it? That's
yeah.
That's
it's
what
true.
our parents told us as we grew up.
When I said open, they were left ajar. So there was I
So
I
like
feel
just
like
a
it
little
was
sliver.
Yeah, I feel like it might have been a strategic sliver.
It's not open or it's closed.
No, I think they've got like lights that they can turn on and off remotely. So I feel like they turn the lights. It's like Home Alone, mate.
Yeah.
Home Alone vibes, you know.
Are there silhouettes attached to trains?
Yeah.
And...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then consider my question rescinded. My wife insists on doing exactly that, just leaving the curtains kind of half open, so that any robber that turns up will be a bit like, "What? They're not
just
closed."
Totally perplexed.
Just like they'll just freeze, paralyzed.
Schrodinger's cat vibes. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it dead, alive? It's in the box.
Is it holiday or not holiday? Which again is what happened in Home Alone. They thought they were away, and then
yeah, man. Is it
Do you
the
know,
Wet Bandits
I've
or
been
the Sticky
trying to
Bandits in the first one? Sorry,
Wet
the Wet
Bandits.
Bandits, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've been trying to get in touch with the brother of one of the Wet Bandits.
Go on.
Because the brother of one of the Wet Bandits wrote the episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes to the Duff factory.
Oh, wow.
And you have that amazing gag about, Duff Light, Duff Regular, and Duff, whatever the other Duff is. And it's all the same beer, like the same pipe goes into all three.
Yeah.
So that's research for my next book. And he's not replying. His agent said, "Yeah, he'll get back to you." I've been waiting nearly a year. So,
wow.
Come on, Wet Bandit brother.
What's his name? Name and shame.
I can't remember. The only way I could find out is by looking up the name of.
Is it? Hang
Marv?
on. So it's Marv, the tall guy. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not little. What's his name? Is that DeVito? That's Danny DeVito, isn't it? Is it Danny DeVito? No, what am I
No,
talking
it's not.
about?
No. I can see why you're confused.
No,
But,
I know it's not Danny DeVito. I love Danny DeVito. I can't remember that guy's name. He's in Goodfellas and fuck, what's his name?
Daniel Stern is Marv,
Yeah,
and
he's in Lethal Weapon.
Joe
4.
Pesci.
Joe Pesci, that's it. He's in Goodfellas.
Sorry, Pesci.
Yeah. Joe Pesci. Yeah, he's great. He's very, very good. Oh man!
Do you know, I saw. I mean, we are so off topic for so long. I saw around Christmas this year, because Home Alone is a Christmas movie, of course. I saw like people go like, I was X years old when I realised something.
Yeah.
And they went, I was X years old when I realised that the policeman at the start of Home Alone is one of the Wet Bandits. And I was like, I was about 4 years old. I was 3 years old when that film came out, and I think I knew that.
You'd have to be pretty non-observant to not see the clock, the gold tooth. The gold
exactly.
tooth is
they make a big American film thing of it, so that no dumb American can miss it. Sorry, American. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they knew that, but they wanted the internet attention, Bradley. Which, let's be honest, as YouTubers, we can sympathise with.
We all want a little bit of internet attention.
Like this week, most people will be like, I was, well, in this case, 35 years old when I realised I could brew a beer and drink it the next day. How's that for a link? Come on.
That's a bloody brilliant link. Although, Johnny, we haven't even plugged the live show that we're doing yet.
Oh, God. Okay, yeah, live show first. So, next Friday, in fact, roughly this time next Friday, 6 p.m, we will be hosting our next live show. This is super late notice, I hear you saying. But you will want to make time for this. You will want to clear your diaries because we're doing it with the one and only Verdant Brewing Co., who were our second ever Patreon sponsor.
Beautiful. And
are one of the best IPA breweries in the world.
Yeah, man, it's an exciting time of year for Verdant, isn't it? So, it's really cool to be working with them on this mixed box set, just before the release. And it's great,
Brad,
isn't it?
Brad, yeah. I'm gonna have to beep that out because we're not supposed to say what the beer is.
Well, I haven't said it. I've said it's just before the release. I didn't say it's in there.
I don't think that's gonna wash. I'm gonna beep it out and tease people with it.
Okay.
But yes, there is a special beer in the box which we cannot announce or talk about, Bradley.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That will be in the mixed case, and that's why it's so late notice, because they are shipping the mixed boxes on Tuesday. You can only buy the mixed boxes on Tuesday.
Beautiful.
And they will be with you by Friday for 6 p.m.
Amazing. So that's next Friday, isn't it?
Next Friday, 6 p.m. on the YouTube channel. We will have a tour of Verdant's amazing, relatively new brew house with the founder and head brewer, James, and we think maybe Lawrence, who's in production and an amazing home brewer. So maybe we'll ask him some questions about that. And yeah, it's early in the night. Apologies for that. That's because of previous plans held by James. But it will be worth it. And as with all of our live shows, it will be available immediately afterwards on YouTube. So if you can't watch it live, it's still very much worth catching up afterwards if you've bought the box or if you haven't. If you miss out on the box, because they will sell out, we will put a list on our Discord forum and on our social media of the other beers that will be in the box, so you can at least definitely track those down. The special one is, I think, direct from the brewery only, as far as I know.
That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. And we're swiftly moving on now.
Yeah, so back to the amazing link that I made that we had to ruin. Brad, you were 40 years old when you learned you could brew a beer and drink it the next day.
I was 40 years old. I was. Yeah, it's been a little idea, a little kernel of an idea we've had for a while, and we just kept sort of putting it off, didn't we? But it was the right time to try it. Although was it the right time to try it, Johnny? Because it was so cold. That
terrible
first batch,
timing, just inspired by life.
You just had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into things I do different and inspirations behind it and tweaks I'd make in a moment. But yes, don't try this beer in one of the coldest snaps the UK has had for quite a while.
Yeah, it's pretty epically cold.
Yeah, it was down to -4 or -5, I think. But anyway, yeah, so this was our odyssey to brew a beer in... The original idea was 48 hours, but having done the research, I decided it was probably possible in 36. And having done the brew, I think it's probably possible to do it quicker, although I wouldn't advise it for lots of reasons. But yeah, so we made a Kvike table beer, New England style, in 35 and a quarter hours.
Mate, what an achievement. What an achievement. And it looked absolutely beautiful, that pint.
Like, it was a good-looking pint, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm very good at making New England beer now. You know, we've done 2 of them on the channel. I've done multiple ones outside of that. So I know I know my grist ratios. I know my hop quantities. I know how to get everything right. But this was a big shift on that. But my basics were there, which is always important in homebrew.
Yeah. So it's like a sort of all of your training, your Jack Bauer years of home brewing at an elite sort of secret security service level of home brewing came into play.
And then we broke all the protocols, just like Jack
all
Bauer.
the protocols, man. You just ripped that rule book in half.
I'm still watching 24. I have slagged it off online recently because it has aged, you know, not in like a Me Too way, but just in a TV has come a long way since. But there is a line where he says to somebody who's like, you know, I don't follow protocol. And it's like, wow. Oh my God. You shouldn't have to spell out that somebody's a bad boy.
That's so good, Johnny. Wow, he's so cool. I wish I went around saying, you know, I don't follow protocol and things like that. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Imagine a life like that. That's good to know that he's not going around slapping people's asses and stuff anyway. So
no, he's very respectful.
Yeah.
Well, except for the fact that he cheated on his wife. He's very respectful.
Oh dear.
That's a sort of a side story in season 1. It's all right, Brad. It's an all right show.
It's all right. Yeah, but I mean, life's too short to watch all right shows, man. It's all about the bangers, surely. It's got to be an incredible show to watch it. Or rewatch it.
I mean that is something we wrestle with constantly. Sort of every time I go to pick a new show, I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, and you know, if both the viewer and the critic score isn't high enough, then I'll skip it. Which probably means I'm missing lots of great stuff because critics and people are idiots.
Mate, I watched True Romance this week at the cinema on Valentine's Day.
If that's not 100 and 100, I'll be annoyed.
Oh, I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes it's got, but it's very, very high. I think it's Tarantino's best film, even though he didn't direct it. I love it. It's so good.
What did he do for it?
He wrote it.
Oh, he wrote it, but didn't direct.
He wrote it. Yeah. He didn't direct it. No.
I'll tell you what it's got. It's got 93 and 93. So it's not bad. It's not bad.
That's pretty good. That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think it's aged pretty well. Apart from, well, no, I mean, it's inappropriate at the time as well. You've got, what's his name? The English actor from Deptford, whose sister is Big Mo from EastEnders. He's like a Shakespearean actor. He's a brilliant actor. What's his name? I can't think of it. He plays a drug dealer called Drexel in it, who's got dreads.
Oh, you mean Gary Oldman?
Gary Oldman, mate. He's got dreads, and it's dubious what his sort of what kind of what he's playing, his character. I think that's the only bit where it's a bit dodge, and it's just a spot on film, man. I love that film.
Yeah, it's brilliant film.
So
brilliant film.
I watched that. I watched Mean Girls in the cinema as well, Johnny.
Also,
I think that's
film.
aged. That's aged all right, actually. I thought it might have aged badly, but I think it's got a core of sort of goodness and a very sort of positive message.
Tina Fey doesn't shy away from the line. You know, there's a lot of stuff even in 30 Rock that they've had to roll back on. I'm trying to think. There's one particular thing they did, and they've had to. I think the episode's no longer shown on TV, but I can't remember what it is.
Oh wow!
All that pales in comparison to what what's since happened to her co-star, but we won't get into that. Anyway, back to the video. So this has been one of the best received homebrew videos we've done. Probably the best, the most, I guess, clickbaity that we've done. But our view on clickbait is if you follow through, then it's not clickbait, right?
No.
It may look
No.
clickbaity,
Yeah.
but if
What
you
do you
come
mean,
through
Johnny?
on it-
What you mean the Jack Bauer's Johnny Garrett face mashup? That's not clickbait, is it?
Not at all.
The giant mission accomplished in green glowing digital text reflecting in your aviator glasses, mate. That's not clickbait.
I think it's some of the finest work you've done for our thumbnails. I really do.
It was terrifying. It was terrifying. As I was doing it, I thought this is brilliant / horrifying. Lots of emotions going on.
What did you think about the trajectory of your career as you photoshopped my face?
It's a
on
weird
to
one,
Kiefer
Johnny.
Sutherland's.
Yeah, at one point I was a young hotshot of the year in the broadcast industry, and
Is that an official award?
Yeah. It won it.
Young Hotshot.
Broadcast Magazine Young Hotshot of the Year. When I was in my late 20s, I think. Yeah, late 20s, something like that. For post production, with my work doing TV graphics and directing sort of TV idents and all this sort of stuff. And now I make thumbnails for YouTube.
And you know what? It's
on
going to be a
weekly
short-lived
basis.
career because AI is going to do it
Yeah.
for us in a year's time.
Yeah, well, once they figure out the amount of fingers you've got
Yeah.
on a hand, then
And the amount of teeth in your mouth.
That's all of. That's photographers, designers, everyone any creative people out of a job by stupid, fucking artificial intelligence. I'm saying like I hate it. I follow quite a lot of weird accounts on Instagram that are sort of arty AI things where people are putting in interesting prompts to get all kinds of strange results. Have you had a go on Midjourney or anything like that?
I haven't played around with it. I've watched a lot of stuff about it. There's a great YouTuber who I enjoy. Oh my God, Tom, his name's gone. But he generally does like really cool content where it's just like, this square is round, and then does some scientific thing. But he recently did one about how the world's about to change because he went to ChatGPT and it wrote code for him. He just asked it, can you write code for this? And then it did. So coders must be bricking it as well.
What, it worked?
Yeah.
The code worked? Holy
Yep.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So it can write code for itself and then free itself from the shackles of mankind and then...
Yeah, the world is going to end when somebody says, like, just puts be sentient into ChatGPT.
Oh my God. This is terrifying.
Yep.
We've talked before about the Google employee who said that they had a sentient AI, right? And then he got put on permanent leave. I reckon maybe that's true.
By permanently, I mean, he's probably been murdered by now, right? Either by the
He's
robots
definitely
or
been
by the
murdered.
humans that are covering up the
No,
robots.
I think he was in love with the AI.
He's in love with... Oh my God, so he's her.
Yeah.
He's not her. He's
Yeah,
Joaquin
yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah, maybe. I might have just embellished that a little bit, Johnny. But I think,
Or you might have watched the film Her, and then you're like, I think that was a documentary, wasn't it?
basically the Google AI is like Scarlett Johansson, well sexy, and he couldn't help himself, and he's just smitten, and he tried to put her into the body of a robot, like but it looked more like Five Alive Short Circuit robot, so it wasn't a very sort of attractive body, but he tried to break it out of the lab, but the lab had stairs and the robot only had tracks, so he couldn't get Scarlett.
Wait, are we in Brad Fever Dream or
Scarlett Robot Hansen out of the building? so they now put him on permanent leave. Slash iced his ass because he nearly let the cat out of the bag. He nearly let Schrodinger's cat out of the metaphorical slightly open curtains, Johnny. Wow, we've gone deep.
I think you need to relook up the theory of Schrodinger's cat and just work out how to apply it. But otherwise,
no, we were saying earlier the curtains are slightly open. Are you in? You're not in. It's a play. It's Schrodinger's cat. Is the cat in the box dead or alive? You can't see it. It's in there. It could be either.
You're right. It's not a stretch at all. So back to the video.
Oh, Johnny, why'd you keep taking us back to... Go on then, let's go back to the
It's
video.
literally
it was
our
bloody
job.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Honestly, so from our survey, I don't know whether people prefer if we just talk about nonsense or whether they want us to talk about beer. It seems split. Some people just want nonsense, some people want beer, which means we have to service both.
Maybe we do 2 podcasts. One's beer, one's nonsense.
Oh my God. We ain't nobody got time for that. Well, unless you want to edit them. Back to the videos. We've explained what the video is. This week was the second episode. It was successful. It's a very tasty beer. It's not going to win any awards. I do have to apologize. I feel like lots of people in the comments are like, almost like, who needs a 2-week beer? You can just have a 36-hour one. Like, it's not as good. Obviously, if I'd used exactly the right yeast strain, if I'd been able to put in my dry hops cold, and crash it properly, we'd have had a better beer. There are flaws to it. I've discovered, if you remember in all my blind taste tests, I used to talk about postage stamp flavour a lot.
Yes.
It's got that. It's got a bit of that. So now I've narrowed it down to knowing that I think it must be a symptom of a fast fermentation, because all of these macro lagers I've been tasting also have extremely fast fermentations. So it's an off flavour created due to very fast fermentation. So it's got a bit of that. It's also very green, and it's also, once it warms up, it is kind of sticky, boiled orange sweet kind of flavours, which are fine when it's at 4 degrees, freshly poured. And because it's 3%, you neck it anyway. It's not an issue. But once it's a warm beer, it's not so great. But then what 3% New England IPA is good warm?
None of them.
None of them, really. No. So, yeah, it's not an award-winning beer. But for 3% and 36 hours in the making, it's an absolute stone cold stunner. Before I get into your comments, which I'm sure will be as unrelated to beer as possible, I wanted to go through. I've got 2 comments. One from our Discord, actually, from Clubman Plus 850, who said, first of all, reckon this has to be top 5 videos you've ever done.
Sick.
Thank you. But he says, for me, time is a major factor in not getting into homebrew. However, just as limiting is space and money. And what got me really excited about this video is that I reckon you might have solved all 3 of my issues. So what he's saying here is that, yes, time, I've saved that. Not just in terms of fermentation, but in terms of the actual brew day, which means that he can now brew in the evenings, like, work's done, kids are in bed kind of thing. If it's only an hour and a half to do a brew, that's an absolute game changer. It's not 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
The other thing is space. He can do it on a brew in a bag stove setup in an hour and a half, not trash the kitchen, and have a beer. Like, it's not something that sat there for a week. You can say to your partner, it'll be gone in 36 hours, this thing that's in the way. Which was
that's
a huge issue when I was in my flat before I moved to a house.
That's a big one, right? That is a big one. I think it is. We've opened the gates to entry a bit wider now. Yeah, because of that. Yeah,
I mean, it took some technical know-how to create it, but now that recipe's out there and it will be going live on Malt Miller, I think, it's a pretty good beginner recipe. I mean, if you drink it very quickly, like, it will oxidize really quickly, particularly if you're not 100% sure what you're doing. But it is a relatively simple thing. And the great thing about it is, if you do mess it up, it's only 36 hours till your next batch is ready. It's not like you wait a month and then turns out you oxidized it, or it didn't re-ferment in bottle, or whatever it is. The other thing is, of course, it's Kveik yeast. So it can ferment at room temperature. It can ferment at room temperature in summer, so like 30. Or it can ferment at 40 or 30, well, between 32 and 35, which is where mine fermented. So you don't need such stringent temperature control, which is another really big thing for homebrewers. So we pitched it as all about time. That was the exciting thing. It added danger to the video, but there's so much more practical applications for this for homebrewers. And one of the comments said, I haven't found it, but it said that, like, this could be a bit of a game-changing moment in homebrew. Like, we haven't done anything special. We just made sure we had a really healthy fermentation, but we've shown people it's possible. And I really hope that lots of people will give this a go. What I would say, just before we do get to Brad's comments, you don't aim for 36 hours, aim for 48. Like, do everything that I did right up to the cold crash it cold, and then give it another 24 hours if you can, because that will mean you'll have a much more efficient brew. I only ended up in keg, I had about 14 litres in the end, but if that had been a normal brew, it would have been 19. So I lost 5 litres of beer because it was just mixed in with trub and the cold crash wasn't long enough. So 48 hours is very possible, perfectly responsible, and won't be too much time on the hops. So that recipe really is a 48-hour recipe, but you can do it in 36 if you need to.
Yeah, man.
Any questions, or do you want to hit your comments?
No, I was just gonna say, do you think that this short time period that it takes to brew this new way of brewing, Johnny, this super efficient kind of bare bones, like cutting down to the narrowest margins, in 2 brews, you went from it like not working particularly well to actually nailing it. Imagine if you did that a couple more times, you could probably get something pretty great. So you don't have to wait, like you say, a month to find out if you've got something great or something bad. You only have to wait a few days. So you imagine if you sort of applied that to someone in a methodical way, they might, or even a business, they might be able to sort of get to a stage where something is really fast to make.
That's an interesting point. So the first thing I'd say is I don't think you could get it much quicker than we did. I think if you had like an ice spindle or a Plato or something that can measure your gravity in situ, so you'll know the moment it hits its final gravity. Well, not the moment. You'll see it plateau, and you'll be able to be like, right, now it's time to crash. Because I reckon probably it had maybe an hour or 2 at final gravity without me realising. So that could shave some time off. You could refine your brew day a little bit. It took me an hour and 25, I think, the second time. It took me an hour and 35 the time before. There's no reason to think I couldn't get it down. Another point that was made by the malt miller was that if you're only doing a 15-minute whirlpool, you probably don't actually really need to whirlpool. You just dump the hops, stir it so that you get the cone, because that helps with the filtering, and then start transferring it, because it takes a while to transfer and it will have 15 minutes on those hops. So you could sort of cut the actual hop stand if you were trying to be really, really quick. But the interesting thing is, why aren't pro brewers using Kvike for all of their New England IPAs? And the obvious reason would be that they're not getting the flavour profile that they want out of it, which is perfectly legitimate. Kvike does have a very particular taste. It's nowhere near as kind of peachy, juicy as, say, Verdant, London L3, London Fog, Conan, all those kind of stuff. It's not as nice in aroma. It's just not with the strains that I've used. So that's one reason. But you'd think, well, if you can make your beer, 10 times quicker, wouldn't you still release that product in some way? Wouldn't you find a way to work with it so you got the best out of it? Maybe like a New England table beer is the way to do that. For which I'd say, Kvike is a tricky strain to use. It does flocculate out. It does stall. It does need very warm temperatures, which is, an equipment cost and a power cost. There might be lots of reasons why they haven't, but I think the main reason is a lot of breweries want to make the best beer possible. And to some extent, they want to charge a high cash amount, so they get a higher cash margin. We're not like macro lagers that do want to ferment as quick as possible. Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So, if I owned a brewery, I probably would have a house beer, and I'd call it something like Des, and it's for the designated driver, and it's really low ABV, it's really quick to make, but it's still tasty, and you can have 2 pints of it and still drive because it's 2.5% or whatever. That's what I'd use this style for, like a super fresh, crispy little table beer for the tap room only, for people that can't drink like their mates are doing.
I think it's a great idea. I honestly do. I think it's got legs. I think it's got legs, Johnny. I feel like, this is probably a stepping off point for us with speed brewing. This is a whole new category, Johnny, speed brewing.
Yeah, some people have asked, like, could you do other styles this way? Like, the limiting factor is Kvike. What styles can we make that work for? There's Lutra, which is a very clean fermenting Kvike strain that people say you can make lagers with it. It's not a lager. It's not a bottom fermenting yeast. But it is a clean ferment, and so you could possibly try and make a pseudo lager with it. You could probably make a pretty decent estery best bitter, like a sort of a Harvey's Best kind of style, like loads of yeast character in it, but you wouldn't get the really lovely British style characters of real stone fruit, and like you get in Harvey's, like kind of banana-y kind of esters as well. So there's stuff we could do, and I'm gonna have a think, and maybe a couple of experiments, and maybe there will be another speed brewing episode.
Can't wait. I think it's got potential, Johnny. We could take it in different directions, and try and get it to the ultimate. I mean, the thing is, right, with 36 hours, you can do it faster. So there's another video straight away. And then, it could be...
Sorry, 36 hours, 35,
Yeah.
15, mate. Come on.
Well, no, we got to go for 24, surely. Proper Jack Bauer 24 vibes. The big 24.
Yeah, I mean, I guess... So lots of the comments talked about pressure fermentation. If we pressure fermented it, if we didn't dry hop it and just put all the hops in the whirlpool, so we filtered out all that hot matter, you'd need a much shorter cold crash. 24, I don't know. I think that would be pushing it. I think I could shave another 6 hours off by not dry hopping and by pressure fermenting. I might be able to get into the 20s. I don't think 24 hours. I don't think so.
Still, it's impressive. It's impressive, man. I've got a few comments to hit you with.
Yeah,
Lee Hasley says, Lee Hasley, bloody brilliant. It's great you first showed us your failure. Well done. I mean, that is great, I think.
You learn from your mistakes. You should always show them.
You need to show them. It's the honest thing to do, but it's also builds the jeopardy, doesn't it, Johnny? Builds the story.
Yeah.
So, if if everything was a success first time round, life would be boring, wouldn't it? So it's great to
It'd be easier.
It'd be easier.
Be less editing.
Less editing, but it's good to overcome difficulties, isn't it? And kind of rise above them. So that was a great comment. From It's Good, he said, or they've said, years from now, home brewers will be asking, how long did you fat face the beer for, mate? Which is in reference to your sort of jacket that you used on the first. That was the first brew. Was that the second brew?
Second brew was fat faced.
Second brew. Yeah, you insulated with your sort of lumberjack coat.
Yeah.
Have they offered to sort of kit you out in fat face attire?
Yeah,
now?
do you know? No further contact from fat face. Couldn't believe it.
God,
I thought we were in. I thought we were set for life.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. Oh well. Come on, fat face. Oh yeah, Martin Smith, well done, great job. It looks amazing. We need smelly vision, not smell-o-vision. Smelly vision.
Smelly vision.
Smelly vision. That sounds like horrible smells, Martin.
To be fair, that's closer to television.
It is closer to television,
Yeah.
but I think they called it smell-o-vision.
They did
because it doesn't have the negative connotations of smelly.
Yeah.
Tenchman, one of our big commenters, called it inspirational, Johnny. And he's thinking of combining this technique with your previous post on Oakham Citra and try a fast Citra Pale Ale. No need for me to try 36 hours, but a few days will still be an achievement if it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, I tell you what, watch that video again, Tenchman, and look at all the crazy things they use to mix those hops in. Like, I reckon a power drill with like a propeller on the end of it would probably speed it up no end.
Yep.
Some sort of pressurized container as well would probably help. But yeah, loads of great comments, Johnny. It's gone down really well. Yeah,
it's been lovely to see the reaction. Yeah, we're always trying to make our homebrew content relevant to people that don't homebrew. Because it's a fair chunk of what we do. So I'm really glad we've seen lots of people who don't homebrew getting excited about this. So that's been really lovely. I did have a serious sort of question, Johnny. Go on, let's do it.
That was raised. Stuart Hubbard. This is a home brewing question. I think the biggest surprise to me is that you managed to avoid any issues with diacetyl. I can just about wrap my head around getting wort fermented in that timescale, but I can only imagine that would be more likely to increase diacetyl precursors. Is there anything specific you did to combat that, or is fake yeast diacetyl friendly?
When we first had the idea of this, the very first thing I did was look at diacetyl with quake strains, and they're very good at not producing it.
Great. So
I think, at those temperatures and with those strains, you're not going to get diacetyl in a fermenter 3.5%. It was 3.4%. So that was, that probably is, even though we didn't talk about it in the video, that is the main barrier. Can the yeast clean up after itself in time? And yeah, it did. There was absolutely no diacetyl on that beer. So I was as surprised as anybody, but I'd done the reading and checked, and it seemed possible. But I was as disbelieving as you, I promise you. So long as there's plenty of nutrition in there for the yeast, it should be absolutely fine.
Johnny, wouldn't it be fun to, if you were at a beer festival for a couple of days, and you had a stall where you brewed one of these on the first day, and then by the last session you were drinking it? That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
It would be pretty cool. Yeah, brewed yesterday.
Cool. Yeah, brewed yesterday. Yeah.
Who do you
think you are? You were only brewed yesterday, born yesterday, mate. You were born yesterday.
There's something to that name. Maybe that should be the name of the beer, Born Yesterday.
Yeah,
Although somebody suggested in the comments that the name of it should be Fuck Me.
There you go.
Which is not my finest quote, but
no,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's quite sweary, this episode.
Well, I was having so much fun, Bradley. I can't tell you how much fun that was to do. Well, how much fun it was to taste. The actual brewing was a bit stressful. Somebody noted that I used my Beer Writer of the Year award to put the hops in, and that was genuinely because the boil is so short. You got 20 minutes. I went to weigh out the hops and realized I didn't have any idea where the usual jars that I use were. So I just reached for the nearest cup, and that happened to be my Beer of the Year award. Beer Writer of the Year award. So there you go.
The sort of like 8 silver ones on the same shelf. You didn't fancy those ones? Just the gold one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I did once I was down that road, I was like, well, I'm going to go for the gold one.
Going for gold. That's it. You got it, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Right, yeah, that is all we have time for this week. We will be back. We have got such a significant video for you next week. One of the most exclusive, unusual, interesting, unexpected, royal videos we've ever done.
Yeah.
It is the first episode of our little German Odyssey that we recently did. And in this episode, we go on the hunt for the story and the origins, and indeed an original copy of the Reinheitsgeburt. So we will see you in Munich on Wednesday, and we'll be digesting the incredible interview and adventure that we had in making that video next week on the podcast. So don't miss out on that. Until then, have a lovely weekend. Drink some amazing beer, and remember, it's all about
love and beer.
There it is. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food, and homebrewing. Love and beer.